Welcome to the August 27th special meeting of the Board of the Civilian Police Oversight Agency. We have a full quorum of members this afternoon. Members Tara Armijo Pruitt, member Chantel Galloway, member Eric Olivas, member Eric Nixon, and myself, Bill Cass. I'd like to welcome you and call this meeting to order. In addition to the board and the meeting the quorum requirements, present from the city is looking through the list of participants that I see are Attorney Robin Rose, Lindsay Van Meter, Chris Sylvan, and from APD I see Commanders Barker and Lowe and Lieutenants Meisinger and McElroy. So if there's anyone else that I've missed, please speak up and let me know you're here. So if not, then the mission of the CPOA board or the CPOA is advancing constitutional policing and accountability for APD in the Albuquerque community. So we're at item 3, approval of the agenda. I think everyone's received a copy of the agenda, and we have actually one item on it. So if I could have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, and so we're doing everything because this is a Zoom meeting. We do everything by roll call vote. So I'll call the roll for the agenda. Member Armijo Pruitt?
Yes.
Member Galloway?
Yes.
Member Nixon?
Yes.
Member Olivas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So the agenda has been approved. We have no public comments. This is item 4 of the agenda where there are no public comments received. So moving on to item 5, review and approval of the minutes from August 13th, 2020. Again, the minutes have been sent out in advance. So if there's, I'd like to have a motion to
Make a motion to approve the minutes as drafted.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second to approve the minutes of the August 13th meeting. Member Armijo Pruitt?
Yes.
Member Galloway?
Yes.
Member Nixon?
Yes.
Member Olivas?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So we've approved the minutes. So we're at item 6 of the agenda, which is the discussion and possible action on review and approval of policy and procedure subcommittee recommendations for APD SOP 2-8 use of on-body recording devices. And so as an introduction to this, I'd like to just give you a little bit of background as to what has gone on with this policy for the last for some time now, and I'll get to why we're here tonight. But the current release of this SOP is actually dated June of 2017. It was reviewed at OPA in July of 2018, and no action was taken at that time to change the policy. It was again reviewed last fall in October of 2019, and then it actually went at OPA, and then it was went through the PPRB process, and it was advanced to the 30-day recommendation period in January 22nd of this year. And because there's no new effective date, nothing was adopted to change the policy. And I suspect it may have been in anticipation of the pending legislation that was before the legislature at about that time to create a state law that would require all law enforcement agencies to have on-body recordings. And this is the reason that we're here, is to get the SOP 2-8 to comply with that state law. So on August 17th, there was a special meeting of the Policy and Procedures Review Board. And it was presented by Commander Lowe and Commander Barca. The policy was, and their request at that time was for us to make our recommendations to be sent back to APD within 14 days. So we're now, there was a meeting on the 24th of August by the Policy and Procedure Subcommittee meeting, or by the Policy and Procedure Subcommittee, and at which all three members of that committee were present, as well as representatives from APD, which included Commander Barker and Patricia Cerna, who is the manager of the OPA, civilian manager of the OPA process. There were also several community members from the CPC as well. And at that time, the letter that you see before you tonight was recommended to be forwarded for this board's approval. So actually, the letter was sent out that same night, and it was sent out about 7 o'clock after that meeting. So here we are on August 27th at the POB special meeting, and from here, whatever we do tonight will be sent to the chief per the SOP 352 policy development process, and where it'll also be sent to the Reconciliation Committee, or what I've dubbed the Reconciliation Committee, which consists of the commanders Barker, Lowe, and Patricia Cerna, the OPA manager, policy manager. And so what they do is, well, let me back up a second. The purpose of sending this to the chief is required. It's part of the process, again, that's required in SOP 352. And another part of that process is that the chief will respond to whatever our letter says. So he's obligated to respond back to the CPOA. The work of reconciling this is done by by an APD committee, and they will include also not only our recommendations, but all of the other stakeholders and community members, which are defined within the APD process. And so I'm just reminding you again that this is an APD process primarily, and we participate in it, and this is the way that we participate. And then, since this is also a CASA policy, it'll be reviewed by the monitor. And all of this is being done to try to get in compliance or have APD be able to abide by the changes mandated by law, which was Senate Bill 8. So if there's any questions about the process, I'd like to entertain those now so that we can separate the discussion about the process for getting here from the actual recommendations that are in the letter. So are there any questions about the process from the board or anyone as far as that goes? So if there's no questions regarding the process, then we can move to the discussion of the recommendation. So I've asked that we be able to share the letter on the screen, and I don't plan to read through the letter, but it will be available for viewing on the screen. And so we're now at the point where I would entertain a motion to approve the recommendations of the Policy and Procedure Subcommittee that are outlined or that are made in this particular letter. So
moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so is there discussion? Yes, Member Galloway.
Overall, I'm completely comfortable with this letter. The only thing that I would perhaps change is that very first paragraph in the letter. I would move that to the end, and I would maybe soften it a bit. Instead of saying that we are expecting that we'll hear your response in accordance with the Civilian Police Oversight Ordinance, I would say, upon receipt, we look forward to hearing your response in accordance with the Civilian Police Oversight Ordinance, not be so strong-handed.
So would you put that in the form of an amendment, please?
Yes, I make a motion that we amend this letter to move the opening paragraph. Upon receipt, we are expecting that we will hear your response in accordance with the Civilian Police Oversight Ordinance to the end of the document, and then change that to, upon receipt, we look forward to hearing your response in accordance with the Civilian Police Oversight Ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this motion, on this amendment to the motion? Hearing no discussion for the amendment, this is a vote on the amendment of Member Galloway. And so in favor of the amendment, Member Armijo Pruitt,
Yes.
Member Galloway,
Yes.
Member Nixon,
Yes.
Member Olivas,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So this has been amended. Now we can, is there any discussion on the amended letter? Hearing no further discussion, I would call for a roll call vote to approve the amended letter. Member Armijo Pruitt,
Yes.
Member Galloway,
Yes.
Member Nixon,
Yes.
Member Olivas,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So the letter recommendation for SOP 2-8 has been approved 5-0 by the board. And I believe we are to item 7, other business. Does any member have any other business for tonight? Seeing no other business, I'm sorry, Member Olivas.
I just had a quick question for Director Harness. I know that there's been a tremendous amount of community interest and community concern about the recent officer-involved shooting that occurred in the university area. There was a gentleman, a bartender, that was involved in that. I certainly don't want to prejudge the case or offer anything like that, but I'm just curious as to when we're expecting that any information on that case might be released beyond sort of the initial reports in the media, as far as when the investigation might be completed. Obviously, it'll take a good deal of time for that force review to reach the board itself, but I think that there's a number of members in the community that are very concerned about that case, and certainly many others, but I think that one just comes to mind.
Chair, Dr. Cass, Member Olivas, I don't have any information on timeline for completion of the investigation, but that case will reach the board when it goes through the processes for APD, the district attorneys, and the Force Review Board.
Thank you.
Member Galloway.
Just real quick, we have been invited, we've kind of discussed and been invited to participate in the CPC Council of Chairs. The outreach committee has expressed that interest just in keeping the lines of communication open with the CPCs and learning how best this body can support the CPCs transitioning under the CPOA and the work that they do going forward. And so there is a Council of Chairs meeting scheduled. I'm looking at my agenda, but Director Harness, I'm sure, has that at the very tip of his fingers. And my question is if there's anybody who would be willing to participate in that. The meeting is this Saturday. I believe it's at 10 a.m., but I'm not sure on that. Director Harness? Yeah, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. via Zoom. So
What is the expectation for participation? Is it as an observer and then to report back to the group here about what, was interesting? Or is it just like to be available to questions once there? Like, I'm not sure what that.
I think it's both. I think it's both to observe and to be able to learn how we might best support them, and also to answer any questions that they may have and just kind of start building that rapport between the Council of Chairs for the CPCs. And then they can take that back to their individual CPC councils.
And so would this be a regular thing? Like if you go to this one, you'd be committing to going to all
I
of
don't
them?
think that. I think that the board needs to commit to going, but I don't think an individual member needs to commit.
Okay, I can go to Saturday if no one else is available.
Actually, I had planned on going, so either way, that'd be great, Tara, but I'll go anyway because I have an interest in going.
I think that would be great. As long as we don't have a quorum, I think that presenting a united front would be nice.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is any other business? Seeing no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so all in favor of adjourning, member Armia Pruitt,
Yes.
member Galloway,
Yes.
member Nixon,
Yes.
member Olivas,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes, so we are adjourned. Our next meeting will be September 10th at 5 p.m. In our regularly scheduled Zoom meeting. So thank
Thanks,
you
everybody.
very much for being here. Thanks for keeping it short. I'm sure everybody is happier than the last 5.5 hour meeting we had. Thank you.
Bye-bye.